What up, everybody?
How you guys doing?
Welcome to another episode of the Practically Reality Podcast. We're back.
What is up? We have a couple new people here, I am sure. We got a fun episode planned today. So if you're seeing this on a channel that you don't know what is going on, we're excited to have you.
Yeah, we got another super special guest today, guys. We're going to be talking with Jordan from Throwback Studios VR. He is the genius behind the hit VR game Derby VR. We're going to be talking with him today. We're going to have him tell us all about his game and what he's got cooking up over there. So we're super excited to talk with him. But yeah, we should probably just bring him out onto the stage. Let's get him up here.
Sweet.
Everybody say hi to Jordan.
What's up, guys? How's everybody doing?
Woo!
You guys might recognize him from, TikTok and whatnot. He's another one of the legendary VR marketers of our age. So, you probably recognize him.
Thank you guys for having me on the podcast. I know I've been trolling in the comments and just lobbing in questions like as I am like working over here sometimes. So I appreciate you being able to come on and actually finally, get a word in with you guys.
Actually talk about things. Hey, we just appreciate that the chat isn't always just, hey, give me free star coins. That's like,
So. I was going to ask, like, when do I start getting free stuff from you guys? But
I'll hook you up.
No.
I got
Hey,
you.
we just started making 50 cents an episode, so come on.
Hey, there we go.
We're rolling in it now.
Nice.
Give us a little bit now.
Well, awesome. So, guys, this is Jordan. So, if you guys have any questions that you want Jordan to answer while we've got him on the podcast today, be sure to leave them down in the live chat, guys, so we can make sure that we get to them. But we are going to do our typical stuff, which we usually start out this podcast with talking about some gaming wins and gaming losses for the last week. And, Jordan, did you come prepared?
I did not come prepared with games.
That's all right. Hey, tech,
No, that's
gaming
fine.
and tech. It doesn't matter. We'll take it.
Okay, so I have a couple that I'm really interested in right now. I've been really focused on VR video, and I kind of think of VR as like social animation, and so I've been really interested in animated stuff right now. One is Flow, which is an Oscar-nominated film made entirely in Blender.
Oh, that's cool.
So
Open source, baby.
I think that's a big win. I'm excited to see if a Blender-made movie can win an Oscar. I think that would be a huge moment for animation and also kind of like VR adjacent, as we probably all use Blender. Win or lose on Disney Plus. I'm really loving it. It's like really deep storytelling around 3D animated characters. And then I love this one. And it feels like a thing that could be a VR game. Is this animated short film from 2001 called Rocks. It's this really silly, goofy story of these rocks that are like buddies with each other. And so those are my three. Sorry that it's not maybe up to date or current necessarily or games.
We'll take it.
Those are mine that I'm really like crazy about right now.
Now, the animation thing is really interesting because I've actually been looking into something similar.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the YouTube channel Russian Badger?
No.
Okay, so
I think I have.
He does a really interesting setup where his videos where he uses a motion capture suit to animate characters, and he does like this entire thing with it. But he's like, "Oh, this cost me $30,000," and I've been looking at it. I'm like, I know for a fact I can do 90% of what you're trying to do with Unity and a VR headset.
Yeah.
So like that's been one of my obsessions lately is like trying to figure out how to do like stuff like that, motion capture and whatnot without the expensive rigs that are necessary. So
yeah,
that's cool. I like it.
I've seen an interesting one lately. Somebody that I'm connected with made a motion capture software using Snapchat's augmented reality filters because it does a really good body tracking and body segmentation.
Whoa.
So she created an entire way for you to create mocap only using your phone. It tracks using Snapchat's technology. So
wow,
it's pretty cool. And it's super cheap. I think it's free to use.
That's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't look into that more because that's interesting to me.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff too. So cool. Well, Declan, what's your win for the week or loss? Do what you do.
My win for the week. So last week we talked about Riot Games and their decision to remove Hextech chests. Well, we trolled them and spammed them enough in all of the chats, in every single comment section of every post they made on any network about the chests, and they are bringing them back next week. And as a sorry, they are going to decrease the price of all champions inside of the video game by 50% from here on out. So they're
That's cool.
back, and they are going to make the game more accessible to people who are starting and playing for the first time. So that is
Hey,
a huge one.
the power of chat, boys. Spam hard enough and we might listen to you.
Yeah.
Please don't start spamming the chat.
We already have Donkey spamming saying, please play Phasmophobia.
Donkey is a regular, and he says 3 words. PLS, play Phasmophobia. And like I'm determined not to play Phasmophobia just because of the spam. So opposite effect maybe. Perchance. I don't know. All right.
And then my loss, I guess. I'm sure you're going to cover the one that I was thinking about. I found another one.
Okay, all right.
I really like Wizards of the Coast, Dungeons and Dragons. People know we've talked about it. They just announced that they just canceled a large budget video game that they were planning on making that was to the scale of Baldur's Gate 3.
Whoa.
They just canceled it this week. So, and Wizards of the Coast is owned by Mattel, and Mattel has been doing really bad too. So, that is all kind of, coming from the same place. They're just struggling right now pretty bad.
But Mattel is the same company that owns Barbie, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they have the Barbieverse and like all those Transformers. They're talking about like Dungeons and Dragons. They're talking about releasing source books for like the Transformers universe and stuff in the next update. So all of that is all part of Wizards of the Coast, and Magic the Gathering is that as well. But I guess Magic is probably the thing that's making the most money, and then Dungeons and Dragons is losing money because they've done some stupid stuff over the last little bit. But yeah, Wizards just canceled a pretty big, high budget game like Baldur's Gate 3. So
that's a bummer. That is a bummer. Dang.
Baldur's Gate 3 is a huge success. So.
Baldur's Gate 3 is crazy to me because that's not my typical game, but I can respect it for what it is. Yeah. And I'm amazed at like the what do they call it? Emergent gameplay.
Yeah.
That style of game. Like I feel like that would be hard. I don't know. I look at it from a developer's perspective and I'm always like, how did they do that? But I got mad respect for it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And it's also our new trademark, Gooner-worthy, as far as we were talking last week.
Jordan, how much brain rot are you subscribed to, my guy?
That might be a little outside my
just don't ask questions. Just it's gonna be better if you don't. All right. Well, okay. So for my win of the week, Disney just announced that Kathleen Kennedy, who is over the LucasArts division of Disney, is going to be stepping down later this year. So,
okay.
The reason that I feel like this is a big win is Kathleen Kennedy, because she's over Star Wars. She's basically the head honcho over Star Wars and stuff. She has been very, very like tight about what gets approved as far as like Star Wars video games. And so I'm hoping this turns into a win. I'm hoping that the next person who steps into her place will be more open to more companies taking on the Star Wars IP and making video games from it. Because it's been a hot minute, in my opinion, since we've seen a really good Star Wars game, and it's such a good IP. I'm such a Star Wars nerd, but like, Same. That's what I want. That's what I want to see, and I'm hoping it turns into a win. So. That was kind of one thing that I thought was a big win, is we might see some new Star Wars games if we get the right person put into the Star Wars seat. So that's the win for the week. And then for the loss, Declan, I think you know exactly what I'm going to talk about. Sadly. The Wonder Woman game, Warner Brothers Games shut down. What was it? 3 studios?
Yeah, Monolith Studios, whatever the studio that made Multiverses was, and then a bunch of their people at their game studio.
Yep, they shut that down and canceled the open world Wonder Woman game that they had in the works, which was just the biggest bummer. I was so excited about that game. I thought that was going to be such a cool one, but man, Warner Brothers must be in a pretty tight spot if that had to go down. So,
yeah, they said they're going to reinvest in like their Harry Potter stuff, which the Harry Potter game last was pretty good. And I don't know, to me, Monolith getting shut down is a huge bummer because we've talked about it before. I loved Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor. I'm a huge, like, you're a Star Wars fan. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. So those are the best Lord of the Rings games to come out in a really long time. It's not Gollum, which came out last year, and that was like one of the worst games to ever come out. They killed it with Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor, and now that whole studio is gone. Plus, their patented Nemesis system. Like nobody knows what's going to happen with that now. So
okay, so I did do some
news.
research into the Nemesis system. I've seen a few things. So the Nemesis system wasn't technically patented just by their studio.
Okay.
And my understanding is that it was actually patented under Warner Brothers Games. So the patent will remain with Warner Brothers, but the patent expires in 2036. And I've already seen like Reddit threads of people who want to take the system and do stuff with it.
Yeah.
Absolutely wild. Like that system is crazy. I mean, Jordan, are you familiar with the Nemesis system in Shadow of War?
No, not at all. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
This is one of the
wanted to say
coolest.
though, I'm a huge Star Wars and Lord of the Rings fan, like massive. So sorry.
Perfect. You come to the right spot.
Yeah.
So this Nemesis system, you should really look into it. Like basically they created this whole system where you would go up against NPCs, and depending on like whether this NPC defeated you or didn't defeat you, they would become like a antagonist in your story against you. Or like if you got them onto your side, they would become like your warrior buddy that would come up with you. It was crazy. It was one of the coolest systems ever.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'll need to try that out.
Yeah, it kind of makes like regular NPCs like big bad guys. In Dungeons and Dragons, we'd call him the big bad evil guy, the BBEG. They become like a more important character, and they're like encoded into the game in a different way, so they can be reoccurring characters in the future progression of the game as well. That's pretty cool. It just kind of depends on how you play the game. Your game kind of changes, and the people that you end up fighting against change as well.
All right.
Super interesting. And like furthermore, like it was a patented like gameplay mechanic. They patented the whole system, so like no one could copy it until 2036, which is kind of a bummer in my opinion, but really cool game mechanic that they implemented in that game. So definitely not great that those studios are getting shut down. But I don't know. We'll see what Warner Brother Games cooks up in this next couple of years, because I've heard rumors, but again, it's only a rumor. We'll see what actually becomes a reality here soon. Well, so we've got Jordan here on the podcast with us today, guys. And Jordan, you just got to tell your story, bro. Like, you got to let these people know how it is you got, because you've told me your story before, but I would love to have you like just tell everyone, get them caught up to how it is you got to where you're at.
Yeah.
That's cool.
All right. So I grew up just loving baseball, playing baseball my whole life. My neighborhood had this neighborhood park that I just spent all my days at as a kid. Ended up being good enough at baseball to play baseball at Stanford. I was a pitcher. And then kind of as my career was ending, I was taking these game design classes at Stanford. They're happening at the same time as my baseball games on Tuesday nights, and I was failing the class as sound design and musical gaming. And Poppy, our professor, she told me, she was like, Jordan, I know you're failing the class. I know you could do well, but if you make a VR video game for your final project, I will give you an A in the class. And so I was like, don't know how to make a VR game. Don't know how to make anything in VR. I've never used it. And I don't know how to, really make a video game yet. That's why I'm taking the class. So I went to the VR lab at Stanford, and there was this guy there, Cody, who was like, oh, I built the lab and I've built video games, and I built, I know VR like the back of my hand. I'll help you make this game. And I was like, nice. Made the game, got the A, and Cody was like, we were fast friends, instant, really good friends. And he said, I'm working at this company called Striver, which is a VR training company. And he's like, you should come be the first employee. And if you guys don't know Striver was initially called Striver Labs. It was this VR training company for the NFL, NCAA. It basically let you relive practice in VR from like earlier that day.
Cool.
And I was the first employee there. We grew super fast. Like the seed round of financing was like covered by like the New York Times. Like we were like, at the time, like 2015, 2016, like VR was the thing. Like when I went home for like Christmas break, Christmas vacation, people were like, I know your company. And we were like working out of like a garage in Menlo Park. And it was like 3 people. So I just like got into VR very early, and then kind of got disillusioned with it. And then during COVID in 2021, Cody and I were saying, and we're gonna fast forward quite a bit so we can get to kind of the how we got to this point. We were like, okay, there's gonna be this future where we're seeing these asynchronous videos that are captured from live networks, and you're seeing them on Twitch. You're seeing them, really on Twitch, and they're being proliferated across YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and we should really try to create a live network where we capture the best clips, and we can build a huge network out of the videos from that live network. At first, so our company was not originally Throwback Studios. It was originally called Receipts, like the thing you get after like you pay at the cashier.
Right. Okay.
Not a good name for a company. But it was kind of built off of like you brought the receipts, right? And we had built this app it allowed you to live stream your messaging with your buddies. And you would live stream your chat. And it was like during COVID. And so like you didn't want to get on the phone or whatever, and you're all just on the couch. And so, and at the end of the chat, it would print out, or it would kind of like algorithmically capture the best part of the chat, and then it would give it to you, and you could post it across social media, which at the time, a lot of iMessage chats were like going viral on TikTok of these screenshots that were kind of reanimated. Didn't work. It was fun, but it didn't really work. And so we said, okay, let's try something else. And we had this really great moment where Cody and I, we just needed a break. It's not fun when something doesn't work. And so we just kind of needed some time off. And we were at this hotel down in Los Angeles with our families. And one of the kids was throwing limes across this golf course off of the hotel. And he said to me, he's like, Jordan, I bet you I could throw the lime farther than you, which, not to brag, I was pretty good at throwing. So I was like, that's a dumb bet. And I was like, what do you want to bet? And he was like, a bag of Skittles. And so we start betting. And Cody turns to me as we're doing this, and it's just the stupidest thing. We're having a big laugh. And he says, this is what we should build. We should take, what if you could do a stupid activity with your stupid friends and make stupid bets with each other? That was like, he was like, that would be really fun to do if we could do that in VR, because we're together here now, but we can't do that when we're working because you're in Washington, I'm in Oregon. So I said, yeah, we should. So that was like August, September of 2022. No, 2023. 2020. No, 2022.
Probably 2022, because we met in 2023, I feel like.
Yeah, 2022. Yeah. And then, so we said, okay, well, we actually had already built a VR game before when we had worked at Striver for the Yankees and the Red Sox. It was this home run derby. It was like a fan activation. And so the thing that like the activation was successful, but the real thing that was interesting was people would come at night with their, partners, girlfriends, husbands, whatever. And they would like bring them on like a date to be like, look at this cool thing that we're doing at work. It was like a cheap batting cage experience.
Okay.
And so, and like people started to do their meetings in it with like their teams. And so I was like, we should just recreate that, like the baseball home run derby, and kind of fit it into that kind of thesis that Cody had built out at the golf course. And so we were just so inspired, and we built the first version of the game in 2 weeks. It was just, we had taken my hometown park, put it into VR, like a whole 3D rendering of it, of my hometown park. And then, made it multiplayer, activated the voice chat, and then we just made it really, really fun to hit home runs in this thing. And the thing that we did kind of differently than a lot of VR developers do it is, as soon as, like, if you scroll all the way back on our TikTok or our YouTube, you can see our initial videos. Like, you can see the very moments where the game comes to life. And that was the big thing for me, because I can't code a lick. Like, I can't even code with AI. Like, AI is like, it's like, stop what you're doing, like, go back to making videos. And so I was just so thrilled by Cody making this game so quickly. I was like, every moment I'm in here, I have a camera strapped to my face. I want to record this brilliance, and this thing is changing every day. And then also people are coming into it and then as the views started to hit, we launched on November 15th, 2022. I'm sorry I'm talking a long time, but I'm just so excited. We put it on SideQuest November 15th, 2022. We had 1,000 downloads by Christmas of 2022, 3,000 players by the end of January 2023, and then 50,000 by the end of February.
Wow.
2023. So like we like grew and just like took off.
What sparked that? Like, was it like a post or something that went viral? Was there anything that like helped that thing just go crazy like that? Or
it was the TikTok, really. And I'll tell you actually what it was. One of my buddies, he said, you're making a game and it looks fun and it looks cool or whatever. But the real issue is these people don't know who you are. You should show your face. Start talking about what you're building and show who you are. Because he was like, a lot of devs they don't reveal who they are. They just talk about like, I'm making this thing or whatever. And so kind of personify the brand and who you are as the creator of the game. And that was like a really big catalyst because people were like, oh, like this isn't just a VR, I'm not just watching like VR generated videos of like these moments that are captured in this game. I'm seeing this person and really these two people create this game, day after day after day. And so that was a really big catalyst for us. The other one, and then in April 6th of 2023, I was at a sushi restaurant and I was editing a video and posting it like right as we were being seated. And like I opened my phone back up at like the end of the dinner and it got like 1 million views over the course of the dinner. I think it sits at like 4.6 million views now. That's like crazy. that was like the craziest like bill I'd ever seen from like a server from like our server providers. But that was really the eye-opening moment, I think, for me, where I was like, oh, like all the hypotheses that we had of like, can we make a game that's fun? Can we get other people to play it? Can we have an addicting and exciting activity to do every single day? And then can people get engaged by the videos? And can they connect with it, whether they have a headset or not? And to me, that level of scale of one video, like that's more powerful to me than like however many headsets have sold, because like there are so many more eyeballs on flat screens than like eyeballs you can capture on curved lenses. And like if you can capture the flat screen audience and their entertainment, you'll have a business for life. So that was huge. I'm gonna stop talking now.
No, that's really cool, because this is a perspective I think you and I share uniquely, Jordan, is that like the audience isn't just who's in the headset. It's everyone out there. As long as you can capture their attention, they're technically a customer. And I think, I mean, I would love to get your thoughts on like where VR is at right now, what you feel like it needs, what it's lacking. Like, because I think we both have kind of some opinions.
Where is it right now? I think it's interesting. I think one thing as an audience that you have to address is like Garrett and I can't be totally vocal. I think Garrett's a little bit more cavalier in his vocalness. I think that we're in a position where we have extreme platform risks as developers. And if you talk to people who want to work for you, people who want to invest, people who, are just interested in the space, the number one thing that people will ask is, how is this not a really risky business? Because you're reliant on Meta to distribute headsets and an app store that you are then reliant on them to distribute those two things. If they stop distributing and selling new headsets, if they stop distributing your game on the store, those are detrimental, crises for your business. For Garrett and I, and Declan as well, you're also trying to create your own platform. As creators, you kind of hear these creators, the really big guys, you like Cypher PK or Mr. Beast or whoever, they don't say I have a community or viewers or even an audience. They'll say I have a platform. But they really don't. Like they are reliant on these platforms to push their content out to the audience over and over and over again. And the hack that Garrett and I really figured out was you can also be an entertain. Like I always think the way that I describe what we do is like our job is making fun games fun. like
That's a great way to put it.
That's awesome.
Like if you can be the most entertaining VR developer, that's probably more valuable than being like the 20th best VR game creator. Like that's probably a better path to go. And so I think that right now we find ourselves in a really weird spot where people like Garrett and myself, like, I think that we find ourselves in this moment where, like, I think Garrett should be, and frankly myself, I think that like these platforms should see the investments that they're putting into themselves, or into the corporations are putting into these platforms, that Garrett should be a celebrity of the MetaQuest developer community. I think that I should be too. I think that Meta should be taking, because we do run studios, but we are really more content creators that, like, Garrett has earned tens of millions, maybe hundreds. I don't know what your view count is, but like tens of millions at least of views for this hardware and for the content in the hardware. Same, we got 30 million views last year of play this, use this headset and play this game in this headset. And the fact that and so I think that's what's really exciting about these platforms is like the headset distribution is there, the player distribution is there, and even the audience, there's an audience for it. But I would love to see more, raising up developers as like celebs, as stars of these platforms. I think that's missing right now. I know Garrett, the last one of these that I tuned into, you were talking about developer relations, and like there shouldn't be developer relations. There should be like talent relations, like that. You're not just a developer, you're the talent. I'm the talent, and I think that that's a big piece that, like, when we meet with Meta, they're like, why would you make these videos? Like, why would you show just show the game, make commercials about your game? I'm like, commercials suck. Like, just show people having a fun, goofy time. Or they and then where I'm thinking state of VR. I don't know. I think VR is in a good spot. I just don't think that I care about even we don't even categorize ourselves as a VR studio. Actually, we talk about ourselves as entertainment. We're a social entertainment technology.
I didn't know you did that.
Cool.
That's cool.
We don't that's really where we focus, is how can we make the best social entertainment and social animation, because I think I love games, I love VR, but I think that the VR is really a tool to create incredible stories, incredible moments that are gonna scale so much more on these other platforms through video. And that's why I kind of don't engage with a lot of VR discourse. People are like, there's this new headset, and I'm like, who cares? Does it have a better camera? Is there better audio? Does it give us more tools to capture better video?
Yeah,
that's really my focus. I don't know. I think that's that's really where I like. So I'm positive on our business. If I was just focused on making VR games, I think there'd be more concerns for sure.
That's interesting. That's interesting. So like, as far as like making videos and stuff in VR, because this is something that you and I both do. Like, what do you feel like are the most useful tools that you use right now? And is there anything you wish you could see in VR to help you make videos easier? Or maybe you're already making that at Throwback, and we're just gonna shut up.
We have some stuff that we've built. I think that the stuff that I wish existed is really more like you want, like the way that I think about like what it is, like if you abstract away the game, like what are these things that what is Sail, what is Derby? They're really stages to film for you and me and people who want to be content creators. And I think that what's really cool is and beautiful and like just insane is that people show up basically for free or they're willing to pay. And the thing that I wish, one, I use CapCut. I think CapCut is an amazing tool. It's what taught me how to video edit. And when like the TikTok ban happened and it was like I can't use CapCut, I was like, oh no,
that was a rough day. That was a rough day.
I was like, I'm more concerned about CapCut going down than TikTok. But I'm also starting to be very interested in like I'm very interested in how much you can fake. Like I think that like a lot of I think like with a lot of like movie making is like with CGI and stuff like that. I think that AI is, as I hate bringing up AI because it's so talked about, but I think like what are the things you can abstract away to have the end goal of like the most entertaining video, and what could you fake using, an agent, or could you funnel all of my Derby videos or we're making another game map chat videos into a model and say, these are the videos that got the best views. Make another video with these types of avatars, these types of characters that would just shoot out like the most entertaining video possible.
Interesting.
I think those things are interesting. I think more camera technology is happening. The Live Creator Kit, stuff like that is really cool. We've built some internal tools that we will be using more in the next couple months that you'll see. But yeah, those are kind of the things I think about with like video capture.
Okay. No, that's super interesting because I remember a while back, I can't remember how long ago, but I remember you and Cody did like your own podcast episode from inside the blimp.
Yeah.
And I loved that idea of like on the live camera from inside the game.
That's
that
cool.
Like you could like talk to people live streaming from. And so like whatever happened with that? Is that still a thing or?
Yeah, it's funny that we didn't do it enough. Cody doesn't like to be on camera. Cody likes to be
still shy.
I'm the
all the
first
attention we've given Cody.
Yeah, Cody prefers, but he was comfortable being an avatar. He was comfortable getting, going there and doing those. I think that we just I don't know why it just didn't seem like a format that like was farming enough clips and views, frankly. Like Cody's so thoughtful, and he's like when Zuck went to go buy Oculus, he interviewed Cody. Like he went and like met with Cody at the lab at Stanford and was like, hey, should I like buy this for $1 billion or whatever it was? And so Cody is just like, he's just so smart, and I think if it's funny, a lot of people have asked about this recently. I think that we need to probably get back into it. We just need to like be hyper focused on, the clip. Like I always people talk about games are a hits based business, which I think most things are a hits-based business, but I think especially like our businesses are like clips-based businesses. Like you got to get these great,
Gotta get the
incredible
thing to
clips.
get people in. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a good way of putting it. That's really interesting. Yeah, I would love to see that come back. I thought that was cool technology.
Interesting. Okay, I like that.
Like,
That's helpful.
dude, what one of the things? Okay, like if I could
press
just give you
Cody
just
now.
like a free idea that I think would be dope in Derby.
Okay.
But, like, it would be sweet if there was like a live camera all the time, right? And maybe whoever, oh my gosh, dramatic zoom in, freaking camera. I have an AI camera that's supposed to track me around.
We had the park camera.
The park cam, yeah.
And it was like 6 positions, and it would swing around the thing, and we would just do it as like a as like one of those like ASMR streams, like when they would have, or like kind of like a ambient streams like they have at the airport where they just like show the planes taking off.
Yeah.
The concern was, I think they got flagged as they like got flagged by TikTok or something as they didn't have enough audio. And I think the concern too was like, you never know what people are going to be saying, and you don't want them to be saying it on your channel. So you couldn't activate the player chat. But I agree. I want so many more cameras. Like as soon as you have these little, or as soon as you have these virtual worlds created, like it's your job to be showcasing like there's stuff happening here. This is a place to be. So yeah, we need more of that.
To add on to that, it'd be so cool if there was like a guy in your in Derby who's on like just a streak. He's gotten like 30 homers deep at this point. And all of a sudden the live camera that's live on Throwback Studios all the time switches to him. And it's like, he's on round 30. He's hitting 30 home runs at this point. Let's see if he hits 31. You follow the ball all the way over the fence, and it's like this. It's almost like watching a sport at that point, right?
Yeah, a live camera that like switches to the live star player. That's genius. I'm gonna do that. We're gonna call it Garrett, the Garrett cam.
The Garrett cam.
I'm a throwback, everybody. Let's go. No, I just like to your point. We've actually been looking into like something like not necessarily like similar, but. We're working on like a new prototype for a game, and we're realizing that the very most fun part about this game is going to be watching it from a third person's perspective. And so we've been investigating like what's the best way to broadcast this or let somebody basically tell the story of what's happening. And that was like one of the things we were looking into is it's like based on a player's performance, snap the camera to them so people can tell like this guy is important right now, watch and see how these other players interact. Anyway. So
yeah, there's an aspect of like when players learn that they're being recorded, or like if they know that you're someone who like they follow or whatever, then that really can change the behavior of the in-game player. It provides better content, and but if you did it programmatically, right? If you're like, I'm putting you on, I'm platforming you because but then also the other players could see like that guy's the best in the game right now. That would be cool.
Something there. There's something there.
Yeah. I like that.
I've got a question for you. Yeah. So with like, I guess making the video recording inside of your game such an emphasis, were you inspired by other games? Like one of the ones that comes to mind for me, and one of the experiences that I think kind of pioneered that concept was VR chat, right? Like Garrett and I talk about games that kind of inspire mechanics, like Gorilla Tag, not really a game, but their movement system is like something that's important in VR. I feel like VR chat to me is kind of like a weird platformer game, but it kind of pioneered the idea of content creators inside of VR. So like, did you ever try that out? Were you inspired by it, or did you just come up with that all on your own too?
No, I had not watched any VR videos, I think. I'm like the worst. I'm the worst on this. The thing that really inspired us, and Garrett probably does this too, like the thing that's really beautiful about what we can do with video is you don't actually have to take a lot of risk if you take inspiration from things that have already worked. So for us, actually, the first video on our TikTok was inspired by this account, and I have it saved. and I can send you the link after, but it's this woman, and it's like the Shrek soundtrack is playing in the background. It's supposed to like line up with someone hitting something, and this woman has a metal baseball bat, a tennis ball, and there's a dog, and she throws the tennis ball up to herself. She hits it, and then the dog goes running, and it had like 1 million views. And I was like, I'm trying to do that. Like, if I could do that in VR, if I could recreate this video in VR, then I know that it has the potential to get this many views and then bring in this many players and this much, whatever, versus like, let me try to come up with a whole new thing that like, and I think also part of what has led to our content success is like, it is based more on reality or like things happening in the real world versus things that are happening in virtual reality.
Gotcha.
So there's more of like a ground level understanding of the content versus like, I'm asking you up front to suspend your disbelief, which like a large portion of people just don't want to do. Like, a lot of people can't even watch a movie without like knowing what the plot is at the very beginning, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's really where I get more inspiration, is from like, is there a baseball video or some physics-based video that you could recreate in VR with millions of views? That's a better format, in my opinion.
That's really cool. I just ask about VR chat. I know that's been like people like the Tuesday Newsday guy that Garrett and I used to watch in college.
VR.
Yeah, through VR. Like, that was a big thing for his platform, was when they had that selfie camera for the first time inside of VR chat, and he was able to record himself inside of VR chat and like go around and show people these different spaces. And it was just interesting that like that to me is kind of the pioneer for content creation that way and that style inside of VR. And it's really cool to see like you adapt that in a different way than what VR chat was doing. And I did want to throw out, if you're interested in like using virtual reality for animation and stuff, you should look at the documentary We Met in Virtual Reality. I think it's on HBO Max. It's about VR chat and about the communities, but the entire documentary itself is recorded inside of VR. They don't interview a person, like a real person. The entire thing is recorded with cameras inside of VR chat. So
that's cool.
Just another cool example of like the use of that medium to create interesting content and encourage content creation. So,
and thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it too. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, it's funny that you said that you get your inspiration from other sources, because that's literally my whole bread box thing, where I put my eyes on top of the Xbox, actually came from another like realm. There's a guy called Habitual Line Crosser who does military news, but he does the same thing. He puts his eyes over like F-16s and F-32s and has them talk to each other. And I watched it and I was like, hey, I'm going to try that with gaming news. And now that's like my entire channel,
awesome.
right?
It's so
funny. Like, that's funny that like you have the same ideas I have, where it's like, get inspiration from other places and then use that with the platform you have. Cause it works. It works. Like
it does.
Right? So,
and it's like it's de-risking for you as a content creator. But then also what I find too is that if the content performs well, then it de-risks the game that you're making. And so like what we always talk about is like, based off of the content, you should be bending the game to what the content is asking for. That's like why the gravity is or like the physics are the way it is in Derby, or like why we designed, like we talk about designing for density. Like, why is it a hitting range? Is because it's really dense. Like, you're going to walk by other players. You're going to talk to each other. Is like, those things are content informed, not like game design informed.
Cool. That's a completely different way of making a video game that I've never thought of before. Like, I've always been very heavy on game design, but I mean, in virtual reality, that does make sense. And like, just social gaming in general right now, we're running into kind of a weird place in the video game industry.
Yeah.
Where like with esports, I feel like a lot of people design for esports where like the video game was the content, right?
Yeah.
But not mimicking the content with the video game. Like, that's just a completely different design that I don't think has been very well explored. And like in an area where content creators and like live streamers and people are kind of looking for more genuine connections with the creators that they're following.
Yeah.
That just is such an interesting way to bring creators and community together again through things like video games, instead of kind of honestly having the video game be the barrier, if that makes sense. So
yeah, I mean, like VR, like I'm sure Garrett experiences this too. Like the way that we do it is like we go into the game and the players, I mean, now we have like 250,000 followers across our channels, and like the players know my voice. And
Yeah.
so like there's this aspect of like, and you see it in fan lobbies too, and with like VR live streams, is like there's the parasocial relationship of like, I know this person through this content, then I'm in the stream, and then I'm going to jump kind of into this virtual thing, and I'm going to meet them in the game.
Yeah.
But there's this added layer with Garrett and I where like also, and Declan, you as well, if you do this, but like there's the aspect of like those powerful dynamics. And then also like you're in Garrett's imagination. Like you're in my like you're in my head, and like this world that I've created, which I think is such a complex new emotional experience for like an internet person, that I think is so powerful, and dangerous too. But I think that that's really where like the, you know, if you can manage it well, if you can not be overwhelmed by being overwhelmed by players,
Yeah.
and if you can turn that into really engaging, entertaining moments, it has the potential to entertain millions of people.
Yeah, and that's probably why Meta doesn't see it as valuable yet, because it is so like new and transformative. I feel like they're still very tuned into traditional like developer and
Yeah.
store relationships where, I mean, let's be honest, like I'm a developer, Garrett's a developer. I know you're not necessarily a developer, but you're involved in the development
Yeah.
process of the game, right? That's not a very socially charged job or role, or
No.
like traditional developers probably aren't comfortable in the spotlight, and that separates a lot of, like, I mean, Garrett and I for sure, but a lot of people that are now part of that like indie dev world and devlog, and I
Yeah.
love game developer YouTube. That's one of my favorite things. It's something that is completely new in the world of developers and like storefront relationships that has never been there before. That I don't think there's been storefronts that have been able to figure out a way to make that valuable yet. I think Unity maybe does a really good job. I know with like Dilmer, he's a huge tutorial guy in their space, and they've given him, or I guess Meta, but Unity in the past had given him a lot of stuff to like help him encourage people to come to Unity, and like they were doing a good job, but that's still a relationship I feel like that is still being explored and discovered for this first time. And I'm lucky enough to go through it right now with Niantic, where I'm trying to figure out how to start creating content for them to make video games and to show off their platform. But it's still just so early in that whole development cycle of that relationship that we're still trying to figure out how we can really benefit one another, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I remember talking to one of our players really early on, and I think that this is the other really valuable part of this is like we're subjected to so much more feedback because like people know who we are and they want to talk to us. And there's a chance that what they say could end up in the videos too. So there's like all these layers of feedback. But really early on, one player, I was like, why do you guys like this game? Like it's barely like a game yet. You know, we're trying to make it happen. And a player said to me, a lot of VR game developers, they hate VR, they hate the games that they're making, and they hate the players who are playing the games.
That's crazy.
You seem like you love VR, you love the game you're making, and you love the players who are playing your game. And I think that like that is like so I've just loved that feedback because I think that that's something that you do run into. Like I was so naive at the beginning. I was like, how could you ever hate this thing? Like there's like, it's all just upside. Nothing's ever difficult. And of course, you do run into difficulty, but I think that that's also kind of what you're saying, where like the developers stay in the background, or they're kind of more comfortable in a different position, versus Garrett and I are like, we're right up there in your face. We're right up front. And I've been spotted around. You just walking in the back of the stream with like tons of cash. Jesus.
That's the other upside of it, right?
Yeah,
the cash.
Freaking cash parade over here in the background. And so but like I think also, there is the like when I've walked around the lake over here by my house, I like get recognized. That there is another aspect to it of like, oh, you're Throwback, you're Jordan, you make Derby, you make Map Chat, you make these other things. So there is that aspect of, are you ready for that? And obviously there's also that concern of like, you don't want to be fame-ish. Like you want the power that you get fame. Like fame is a necessary thing right now for Garrett and I to get the distribution for our games, to help our businesses, to help provide for people. And like you don't want to be caught in that like in between moment. So I think that's a big worry for us, is like, how do you cut through to the mainstream? How do you not just be this kind of
like segmented into a specific group? Yeah. That's cool.
That's super interesting. Well, Jordan, I know you got to go at exactly 2 on the dot, right?
Yeah.
So let's chat. If you guys have any questions for Jordan, we'd love to see them. If you guys got any for him right now, put them in the chat right now. But we're gonna wrap this up a little bit with our game suggestions, some recommendations from everyone. And if we get any golly, I'm all of a sudden tripping over my words. If we get any questions for Jordan, we will ask him right away. I know someone earlier was asking, what is Throwback or not Throwback? What is Derby made on? And are you guys still using Unity, or what do you guys use for Unity?
Yeah, we build it in Unity, and we have our own custom backend engine that we've made that's called the Throwback End.
Cool.
Nice.
And so that runs all of our like multiplayer servers. It runs our whole in-game economy, subscriptions. It just runs a bunch of stuff for us in the background that we're going to be using it for our next game here that we're making right now, called Map Chat, which we just put out. We built this game in a week.
Check it out.
It's all done with hand tracking. If you have an Apple Vision Pro, it's actually more fun on Apple Vision Pro than Meta Quest right now, because the hand tracking is just like so nuts on Vision Pro. And yeah, so we use Unity, we use the Throwback End, and then we are very happy customers of Normcore. We love Max and the team over there, and our servers I don't think have shut off for a long time. We have players playing 24/7 all over the world.
We love Normcore at SailVR too.
That's be the standard.
Yeah, so that's cool. That's kind of how it runs. Yeah.
Nice. We got General Milo asking, Sail collab when?
I would love that. We need some more differentiation. We had a really we need some Sail merch in Derby. We had this really great piece of feedback where the guy, this one of our players, Real Banana Man VR, shout out to him. He was like, we didn't get into Derby because of the baseball. We got into it because of the goofiness, and we need more goofy socializing. He said the Blimp Club, the Blimp where we do the podcast. He's like, you need more of that, less of the baseball. So I think we need more. We need a sword, bat. We need a pirate hat for sure. I could see a bunch of stuff. We need an ocean map too. Like we need to be hitting home runs into the ocean. So we got summer coming up too. Like you're hitting on the beach out into the ocean. and there's a sail pirate ship out there, that I can see all sorts of stuff going
Dude,
on.
I'm so down. What I'm thinking right now is in Sail VR, we have this one island that's right before the ice wall that marks the edge of our map.
Yeah.
I want to put a baseball bat and a baseball on there. If you
Heck
can
yeah.
hit a baseball over the top of the ice wall, you get the exclusive blue derby hat in Sail VR. Let's make it happen.
Cannonballs as baseballs would be a fun one.
You got to have a sailboat that's floating around. If somebody hits it far enough, it sinks it.
Yeah,
Blows up. I would love to see it. That's freaking awesome.
those would be great.
Well,
Sweet.
cool. Well, yeah. Before you leave, can we get a video game recommendation from you? It can be either indie or AAA. Just one that you like that has inspired you.
Guys, I am so sorry, but I don't like. I'm so focused on making the games. Like,
No,
I
you're
barely,
good.
I barely have time to play games. Garrett, I really loved the what was the plastic battleground game?
Plastic Battleground.
Their videos get so many views. Like,
They're
it's
so
insane.
good. I love that. They have like one guy who keeps getting like tens of millions of views on his videos. It's crazy. What's his name?
That popped up for me the other day, and I was like, oh my God. That was just incredible to see the just the amount of people that it was reaching was so cool. I was really inspired by that. It was a overwhelming video experience, but it was
It's intense. Like, you go into combat with the bro when you go into those videos, and I love it.
yeah, I was like, okay, I was getting like fashion tips in my previous video, and now I'm like at war.
It's always like,
Plastic.
Cortez, get
Yeah.
down! I love it so much.
So I like that one. I want to give that one another suggestion, because I've been watching those videos and I'm just like, I barely know what's going on here, but it seems to be doing great.
Yeah.
Plastic
The
Battlegrounds,
dopamine.
everybody. Highly recommended. Highly recommended from the Practically Reality podcast crew.
Yeah. Garrett, how long did you work on Sail by yourself?
Let's see. So I put out the first demo of Sail VR July 13th of 2020.
Wow.
And that was while I was a full-time student at university, and I was also working 3 jobs at the time. So I worked on it on basically all my spare time then. I started full-time on Sail in 2021. And then contracted a studio to help me get single player out, which we released in 2022. And then from 2022 to like mid 2023, I was solo again. So like,
Jeez.
I guess all told is like 2.5 of the 5 years I've been working on this. I was a solo dev ish.
How do you deal with hate when you get it online for being a game dev? How do you deal with like, why isn't this all free? Why, how do you deal with that?
I just straight up ask them. Like, one of the things people don't realize about, like, what most people think is that they can say whatever they want and there's gonna be no repercussions for it.
Yeah.
I oftentimes go straight to the comments and be like, hey, I'd love to talk to you more about this. Will you please send me an email so that we can talk about this further? And I've had a few people like actually reach out to me and explain to me, like, and I'm telling you, these people who are haters oftentimes will turn into like some of your biggest lovers.
Yeah.
If they see that you take the time to talk to them and understand their point of view on things. That's been my experience.
Has been mine as well. I think that's been a big learning point for me, is like, how can you, like, part of it is teaching. Like, the last thing I'll say, like, the number one way that people find Throwback Studios is a search on YouTube. I got this like report from YouTube that was like, how do people find it's how to make a VR game. And so they're learning about they want to be devs. They want to learn how and they're watching our videos backwards. They're saying, oh, this is what it looked like at first, and here's what it looks like today. And so when they are bringing up, why does it cost money? It's like, it's an educational opportunity. So I've found that as well. And people are like, oh yeah, like, people are paying more money and the game is getting better. Like, that's like that. I actually noticed that. You're right. Guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate just being able to come on this show. And Garrett, I appreciate you a ton. The fact that I have your number and could just be like, There's someone else out there.
Jordan and I text all the time, guys.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I was so stoked when he texted me the map chat thing. I was like, yes, something new from Jordan. Let's go. I did check it out. I would love to talk to you more about it, maybe offline sometime.
Please.
I'm excited for what you got coming, dude. Like,
Thanks,
always
dude.
a
You
pleasure
too.
talking to you.
And Declan, it's so nice to meet you. And
Yeah,
thank
nice to meet
guys
you.
so much.
Awesome.
Sweet, man.
Well,
Well-
I'm gonna turn your camera off. I think Garrett and I are gonna end it, but thanks for coming on. It was a pleasure.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Everybody go check out Throwback Studios.
Thanks, guys.
See ya. That was fun.
Awesome. Yeah, if you
Very
guys
insightful.
he's so one of the things I love about Jordan more than anything is like he is not your typical developer. He is
Yeah.
not your typical person in the VR space. And I think our conversation with him today really showed off like some of the cool things that he has found that like a developer guy like me would never have
Yeah.
found. You know, like his whole thing where he was talking about like finding marketing in other places.
Yeah.
Nobody does that, you know? So I freaking love Jordan. He's awesome. You guys should definitely go check out his game. It's called Derby